All right, The Brutalist. It's up for Best Picture and Best Actor at this year's Oscars. A lot of people seem to like it. Some people don't. There's a lot of parallels here with Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead as well as Megalopolis. It's about an architect trying to make his way. He's an immigrant trying to make his way in America. And the message of this movie is America is rotten to the core. That's the message. America is rotten to the core. And we see this for the first time. This is in this scene. This is when Laszlo exits the boat and sees America for the first time. And this is what the camera shows us. It's us upside down, a Statue of Liberty, symbol of America, upside down. America stinks. That's what we're going to hear in great detail later on in the movie. So, through a series of adventures, Laszlo ends up building a memorial to a rich benefactor's dead mother. And the guy initially wants it to be like a library, an auditorium, and a gymnasium. But then they have to go to City Hall. And City Council says, well, you got to have a place of worship there too, or we're not going to give you whatever your tax credits. So he has to build a church. So he decides to build the church, he shows them their structure. And during one conference meeting with his benefactor and some other people, the guy says, well, Harrison, we don't know how much the materials are going to cost. And Laszlo says, materials? We'll just pour concrete, because he's a brutalist. And he doesn't believe in beauty in his buildings. He believes in form and function. Total utilitarianism. And this will come into play at the end. We'll find out why he says this at the end of the film during the retrospective. So the building is called off eventually, and then it's called back on, and then Harrison and Laszlo, they go to Italy to source some marble, and after that they go to the club, and Laszlo gets drunk, and Laszlo gets drunk, and Laszlo gets high on heroin because he's a junkie. Now we only see this junkie part of him a few times, and it never becomes something that's detrimental to him. He's always able to function. He doesn't like slide into the gutter for some reason. He just uses the heroin and he gets real high. And then Harrison comes out there into the alleyway. He's like, Laszlo, where are you? And then he sits down next to him and he calls him a leech and says, you could be so much better. What's wrong with you people? You don't want to be, well, anyway, he ends up forcing himself upon him, right? He ends up forcing himself upon him. Now, you should notice that during the city council meeting, when they're talking about building a church, Laszlo calls Harrison a practicing Protestant. There's a scene in there somewhere where he calls him a practicing Protestant, contrasted with him, who is an observant Jew. We see him at synagogue once or twice in the movie. And so you have this picture of Harrison, the practicing Protestant, the practicing American Protestant, just throwing himself, giving it to that immigrant Jew, just tearing him a new one. And we don't find out. I don't remember when Laszlo told this to his wife, but apparently he did. And there's a speech that she gives where she says, you were right, Laszlo. America's rotten to the core. The food is rotten, and society's rotten, and they've only been able to help us, destroy us in our physical bodies. But, let's move to Israel, basically. Let's move to Israel. Because his niece had moved to Israel, and so she wants to be over there so she can be grandma to the niece's children, because she doesn't have a mother or anything like that. But anyway, she goes to confront Harrison and calls him out for what he did, and then he runs off. And maybe he dies, I don't know. But the last shot we see of that particular scene is that they run into the structure that Laszlo has built, which is a church, among other things. And we see the cross, the open cross, with the light shining down. And the cross is upside down, just like this. Because Harrison, the practicing Protestant, is really some kind of antichrist. That's why the cross is upside down. The practicing Protestant who forced himself on a poor little Jew is an antichrist. And America sucks. America's bad. So then we get to the very last part of the movie, and it's a retrospective of all his works, and his niece is talking, and she says that he designed this church, he designed this thing for Harrison's mother out of his experiences at Buchenwald, because he survived the Buchenwald concentration camp. And he designed this church to look like a concentration camp. That's why it's all form and function and no beauty in it. And she mentions that his architectural his works of architecture don't mean anything. Is basically what she says. They just are. They just exist like mountains. They don't mean anything. So really, the whole message of the movie is that America stinks, and that Protestants, white Protestants, are forcing themselves upon these Jewish immigrants who are. That's why they're having a hard time, because it's the white Protestants who are keeping all the immigrants down, basically. And yet we see through this retrospective that Laszlo actually succeeded in America. He's got buildings. He's built all over the place in America. So it's a little convoluted message, and it's a backward message, because it's not white America ain't keeping the Jews down. The Jews are very successful. One would say even too successful. You can watch something like Neil Gabler's A Home of Their Own or A Place of Their Own about the building of Hollywood, or you can read the books of Kevin McDonald, which detail immigrant Jews coming to America and basically building their own little societies and succeeding very, very successfully. And at the same time, subverting the values of white Protestant America. So the message of this movie is a little convoluted. Like I said, America sucks, but this guy succeeded. He succeeded in America. So anyway, it's okay. It's worth watching. Who knows? Maybe it'll win awards. It's already won lots of awards. But maybe it'll win at the Oscars. Maybe not. But that is The Brutalist.